Hey guys, Cigaro here, and today we're going to be looking at the Onyx Pack Beta. Mayhem's just along for the ride, and Onyx Hub, the creator, Chase himself, will be guiding us, giving us the grand tour. So, tell us about this pack.
Alright, this resource pack kind of started off as just a personal project of mine, just something that a way that I wanted Minecraft to look. It started out really different. It was more of a minimal, just completely flat look to it. It was just pretty much everything bare bones. But over time, it's just kind of evolved into this. So we're going to go ahead and start with all the different textures, and we'll start over here with the stone blocks. As you can see, the bottom one we have stone, our special, wonderful god block, or the stone slabs that we have. These are pretty much just simple. There's nothing special to these. Then we have our cobblestone, stone brick, and then we have another little special thing over here, our obsidian and bedrock.
Very nice.
I used a similar texture to the cobblestone for obsidian bedrock, mainly because I consider them stone-based blocks. And I almost feel like the pattern should go along with that and kind of put a little bit more flow into it. I'll probably end up changing the colors a little bit more to kind of help make them look a little... Yeah, they're a little close together.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a dark cave or something.
Yeah,
but
sure.
But that'll change over time. A lot of these patterns, colors, and things like that were actually inspired by a really cool game called Fez, if you've ever heard of it. It's on PlayStation.
Very crafty.
I actually think it's on Xbox as well, maybe.
It is. It's like kind of the game mechanic with the rotating world and the crafty art style.
Kind of like that Escher's style world. It's a really awesome game. And a lot of the patterns and colors are inspired by that game. Whenever I first played it, it was just, it was like a visual overload. But yeah. So yeah, we have our sandstone type blocks, our netherrack type things, our quartz. Then we have our glowstone based things. I completely redid the entire idea of glowstone. I always felt like glowstone was just too busy. It just didn't feel right. Whereas this version of it that I created is more of a simplified version of glowstone. It's just pretty much a glowing block and that's it. And then, of course, you have the redstone lamps, which are more of a modified version of glowstone. So you can kind of see that difference in color between them, but they're still kind of consistent. And the reason I use this flat design is it works really well with staircases. So if you want to have some cool step lighting, these work perfectly.
Talk to us about these dirts.
Yes. These are our different types of grass or dirt blocks or however you want to call them. And I just realized that one does not have snow on it. Here we go.
Snow melted.
Alright. So yeah, we have our cool grass block here. Nothing too fancy. It's just pretty much a general look. Mainly because there's a ton of grass in the world and we don't want something overbearing. Then we have our podzol and then mycelium. These have a cool pattern to it. Makes it really stand out. But it's still simple and just not really... It's pretty just unobtrusive. Our sand-based things, we have sand, red sand, soul sand, and then clay. I feel like these blocks kind of belong with each other. That's why they have matching patterns.
Yeah.
Originally, a little cool thing about gravel... Gravel, I had a matching pattern with the rest of these. Unfortunately, it's hard to distinguish gravel from clay. So I ended up completely redoing it and finding a new pattern. And I kind of went with this idea. It kind of reminds me of like small rocks or pebbles that kind of fit together. So then there you have gravel. The sponge kind of takes on a similar pattern to the rest of the sand objects. Normally you won't see this in Minecraft. On Survival Worlds, obviously, because it's a creative-only block.
I like it. I like the new sponge.
But yeah, it's a nice look.
Hay bales look good. Hay bales look nice.
I'll do this. This is our snow, our packed ice, and then regular ice. Nothing too fancy there, mainly because in large quantities we don't want that to be too overbearing. Hay bales, the outside of it looks perfect. The top of it I will probably end up redesigning and giving a pattern that matches the sand over here. Alright, now on to our plant life. Keep in mind, a lot of our plants are not fully updated quite yet, mainly because the form of them are kind of tricky to work with. But we have our cactus, our ferns, netherworts, all the flowers have been redone as far as at the bottom row. These fern-type things up top, these are a little difficult to work with, mainly because they're kind of a two-part texture. You have the top and then you have the bottom, and then you have to try and make it flow together.
I like the pots. We have I like the clay pots.
Oh yeah, I love them too.
Really cool.
Alright, we have our ferns. The big fern and our tall grass really works well. Really cool because you can kind of hide inside of the tall grass. It really makes some cool stealth features. Cobwebs hasn't changed too much. One of the things that I didn't like in other resource packs is how they change cobwebs to look very squared off and very just kind of fake looking. It just doesn't feel right. So I kind of left cobwebs as basic and as normal as I could.
Yeah.
But I probably will go back and really touch it up a bit more to clean it up.
I think that would be good, just to differentiate it from vanilla.
Yeah. Here's the pumpkin and the watermelon designs.
Cool.
And this kind of really goes off of my point of this resource pack. Is I was wanting to make things really pop out. So as you can see, like the stem texture on top of the watermelon and the pumpkin, you can see kind of that stem almost like it kind of protrudes out of it. That was something I was really trying to experiment with this resource pack. And you can also see it with the pistons as well. And then we have pretty much our utility-based objects, like the hopper, the dispensers. The rail tracks. The tracks are very flat compared to everything else, mainly because whenever you put them on top of other stuff, I don't want it to be too distracting. I just want it to blend in with everything else. The enchanting table had a small update to kind of match with the obsidian I made.
Yeah, looks clean.
TNT's been given an update. The trap doors and also the doors up here have received some cool little inlaid windows to give it that really cool 3D effect. One of the things that just annoys me in Minecraft is the point whenever these doors open backwards. As you can see here, you would think that with the doorknob right here, it would open inwards, but whenever you press it, it opens off of the doorknob.
Euro doors.
The default resource pack normally has hinges on the door, so I ended up removing the hinges altogether because most of the time the door would open and, yeah, hinges would be on the outside. So it never looked right. But I did end up leaving a doorknob on the wooden one because it just kind of needs it.
Yeah.
Nothing I can do to really keep it from doing the switch over now. Here is the new crafting table. This one actually doesn't have any tools on it or at all. It's pretty much just a slimmed down crafting table. And it really kind of flows in with the rest of the woods that we'll get to in a minute. Chest, pretty much your basic chest, not too big.
Yeah.
Here is the fun part. Wools and hardened, basically your colored items. Wool, I had a fun time really getting textures for it. The problem with wool and hardened clay, they look very, very similar. So it's trying to find two distinct patterns that really separate them. So with the wool, I went with kind of the elongated, like the longer checkered pattern right here. It really makes it look like fabric. I think that is just one of the I think this is one of my favorite
It's one of mine too. I love it.
Just really makes wool stand out. And of course I gave hardened clay a more, I call it the fingerprint pattern, because it looks like a fingerprint.
Yeah. Well, you know, clay is layers. Like, if you look layered clay or whatever?
Yeah, it has a very layered, yeah, exactly, layered feel to it. So it just feels right for the clay. Glass, no, I didn't want any I didn't want anything in it, just a simple outline glass, that's it. Nothing extra. It makes glass domes really nice. 10/10. Alright. Our selection of wood.
Look here as well. I didn't go over these ore blocks.
Oh yeah, get to these. The ore blocks are special, mainly because they have the cool shimmering effect. As you can see, there you go. The ores, the originals are kind of like stone, but with kind of the speckled ore inside of it. I love that. I wanted to play off of it a bit more and do something different. So I actually went with kind of like the smaller version of the ore kind of inset into the stone. So whenever you're mining and everything, it's easier to identify ores. It's one of the big problems I heard, and some other people have, is they'll just completely pass up certain ores because they just don't see them. Which is a common problem that doesn't really need to be handicapped, but it's just a cool feature with this. See, those are the ores. Alright, over to the wood. This is probably the biggest pain I ever had in this entire pack, is the leaves. I think I went through about 24 leaf patterns. No joke. I did several sketches to just try and come up with something that looked right. And the other challenge is making something that goes with the graphic settings, because you can set your actual graphics options to either fancy or fast. And what it does is it makes these leaves have a transparent mode to it, so whenever you can see through the leaves and everything. This, however, I took the route of actually completely eliminating transparency in leaves. I think it saves on your graphics and it helps everything else run smoothly. So I ended up doing away with it completely. Although I did have versions of this where the little leaf patterns were pulled out. And it worked, it just didn't look right though. So this was just more of a design decision that I ended up making, and I'm sticking with it.
Talk to me about these center objects before we go over the paintings.
Alright, iron bars. This is something that my friend Zach was telling me about, is how the old iron bars really didn't feel like iron bars. Which I kind of agree with him, but this is my take on it. These feel right because mainly whenever you inset them into stuff, it can be done as windows, it can be done as fencing, and you can do a lot more stuff like this. Whereas others, they were very thin, so it was hard to really kind of put it in and place it, and it really looked nice. And of course you have our fencing, which comes from the cobblestone textures, and then our wood and nether fencing. This is something I recently did with water and lava. I added a block texture to these. Normally, they would be flat textures, or basically they would just look like flat water, flat lava, no distinguishing blocks. I ended up adding this because I feel like it would help players really distinguish what block is what when it comes to these liquids.
Yeah.
And it does give it...
You can see a source block much better.
Yes, that is one of the other things behind this. Whenever you actually see moving water, you'll notice that it does not have this outline, whereas source blocks will always have it. So it really puts a distinguishing thing between source blocks and then just flowing water. I also applied it to the nether portal, which we'll get to over here.
Cool, it's a great segue.
The nether portal, pretty much the same pattern for now. I'll probably end up changing it much later. And it uses that similar principle of having a border. And it's also a little bit thicker, so it's not a see-through. Now onto some people's favorite parts, the paintings.
Yeah.
Many of these paintings are experimental, and they will most likely not be in the final release of this. Simply because, yeah, you'll just see for yourself.
Yeah, some of these are inappropriate. Parental discretion is advised.
Of course, it's from one of our favorite YouTube videos, what's the name of it? The Rejected Cartoons.
Yeah.
And of course, we have our favorite Doctor Who posters.
Oh, is that what this is?
That is the Dalek Forward Unto Victory.
Awesome. What is this someone's cat? Or is
That is Mimsy's cat, Nala. She just sent me a picture of Nala, and I was like, I'm gonna put it in the texture.
Oh my gosh. There you go, Claire.
This is a special Easter egg that most people don't know about. This is actually the first time I'm talking about it to anyone else. This is called Pedogiraffe, so you can kind of gather what that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That was from a design quirk. I was trying to design some things for James's other projects, and ended up goofing up and making this. It is, an abomination, and it will steal your soul, so don't stare at it too long.
Alright. Well, thank you for showing us through the Onyx Pack. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on?
Here, a few more paintings we can go through before we go. Our top portrait up here is actually a picture of Zack with a mushroom head, and it's his Kixmiller portrait. Special Easter egg to those who actually find some signs involving it. And then our final one down here is the Whispering Goldfish.
And is this Doctor Who right here?
Yes, that is the Exploding TARDIS.
And these classic images.
Oh yeah, Onyx logo, the giraffe, Doge. I mean, you can't have a resource pack without Doge. One more thing before we have to say goodbye. I will have to show you this. This is something that I didn't think I would keep in the pack, but I'm just gonna say screw it, we're keeping it. So we have our standard wolf here. And of course, if you tame a wolf... No, come back here. Come back here.
He's gonna die.
If you tame your wolf, you get a free Doge.
Nice. Alright. Well, I think we'll end it there. Thanks for showing us the pack. Check it out. It's on onyxhub.com. You can get it. It's free. And we'd love for you to have it and pick it up and check it out. It's pretty awesome. Chase has spent a lot of time in this. So this is El Cigaro and Chase, the man behind Onyx Hub, signing out. Bye, guys.